Hey everybody, what's going on? Doing another one of these vlog type things. Um, this one I'm just gonna kind of hop right in because I kind of like to free talk on these. Um, it's funny to me more to me because of the context and because of just the overall uh, discussion. Um, That's it has to do a lot of like validation, I think. Yeah, like validation. Um, I just saw this video, well, okay, but the video I'll talk about like then leads into like a more general like conversation. Sorry, I just had to burp. um, but uh, this person that I watch online, he's he was talking about how um as an example, like it just like he was kind of just shooting the shit, and um I guess PewDiePie, like I'm not familiar with all the YouTube bullshit, like all the fucking YouTubers, whatever. I guess Markiplier, some guy that I don't know nothing about. He knows, I guess, something with Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know. My little bro showed me. I guess he's making a movie. Like, I don't keep up with any of that bullshit. Like, I really don't. Especially fuckers like Logan Paul. Like, when I was a little bit younger, I'll admit, I mean, I was kind of into that stuff. Um, but thank God that was just a phase, because I mean, those guys can just go to hell, honestly. Most people on YouTube can go to hell because they're all like assholes, really. Um, but I guess PewDiePie said the N word at one point, and yeah, it was like caused a lot of controversy and shit like that. But what got to me more was his response to that. Was he said that he doesn't think he's racist. He thinks that, because he admits that he thinks that he says the word a lot, but he also says in the same sentence that, or in the same, breath that, well, I don't think that he's racist. And, like he himself admits that he uses the F word, not the word fuck. He F, that the other FAGGOT, that word, the derogatory term towards, gays and stuff like that. Um, he he was like, well, I've said that word before too, and it's like sometimes we all have that one word that that word that we know is really really bad, and then sometimes we're really mad, we just say it out loud, like just the I'm not even, and that's exactly how he said it, and it's like I laughed at that because I find it so humorous how people uh justify their bad habits all the time. Um, like I talked about it once in one of these vlogs where it's just like I find it so funny every time when I'm talking. Like I wouldn't say to everybody, but it's like there's a few people that I know that that act this way. They're just like try to justify everything, um, and or they're just so naive. They have such an idea as to how things need to go, and even though if it's not working, it's like, you know, and I've had that, and I still I deal with that, to a certain capacity. I mean, my dad's a fucking narcissist, and I was raised by him to some measure in my crucial years. So, so, but I deal with that when I or in, you know, but anyways, like like people like that same person also said like it's fun to say ignorant things, you know? But yet it's like it's like eh, like I know it's narcissism. And I know that I also bring up narcissism a lot, but it's like that's just what it is. I mean, I get that people don't, like, I get that I say that a lot and some people get tired of me saying it, but it's like that's what the fuck it is. Like it's like you can't acknowledge that what you just said is wrong, and you can't acknowledge that what the overall thing that you're doing is inappropriate. You're just trying to justify that habit in any way possible. Um, and that's not right, and that's what narcissism is. It's someone who has a lack of empathy, someone who doesn't understand or wish to understand what they do and what those actions or those words sometimes do to an individual, or just how they come out, what they make you look like. Like, you know, nobody likes to do any self-reflective work nowadays, it seems. Everyone's looking for validation in the worst ways. Looking for validation in see, like he's an asshole too, and everyone around me is an asshole, so therefore I have the right to be an asshole. It's not really how that works. And you can call me like fucking boring or whatever like that, or just a fucking I like pussy, whatever, like whatever word you want to throw, like that's fine. But like I made it a point when I was young to like stray away from all that shit, like to not be influenced by to be influenced in that kind of way. And I definitely was an asshole when I was like a kid. I was not a perfect child, but like I would like to think that I'm better now because of the fact that I've been taking on more of that self-reflective journey and making it a point to admit that I'm wrong. And I'm wrong like almost all the fucking time. So believe me, like, you know, I have my moments, but I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, everything I'm thinking is like completely correct. It's like no, no, no. It's an interpretation. I mean, I have opinions, and then those opinions are usually stewed in research or just experience or common sense, like my interpretation of life in general. Like I'm allowed to have an opinion, and um, in that capacity, like I can't I like it's hard to be wrong when it's like something is meant to be interpretive, unless the facts are present. I've always said unless the facts are present, then like you're allowed to have your interpretation of events and allowed to have your interpretation of things. And life is full of interpretation. And there are facts present in life. I mean, there are just general things in life that you just can't bend. Um, but like there's also a lot of room for interpretation of things. And it seems that a lot of things that people are interpreting are things that are factual, like things that people just shouldn't do or think, and they're doing that anyway. And I don't want to call out the generation. Like I've done that again a few times on this channel, like just saying like the Gen Zs and shit like that. Like I do believe that that sort of mentality is heightened from this generation. Um, I could see it in other generations too, like in millennials, and I would say that I've probably fit more in line with a millennial, in terms of just my overall personality, probably more or less politically, probably also, um, but um, because I'm nowhere close to what the typical Gen Z person looks like. I'm not wearing my fucking PJs everywhere I go. I'm not smoking pot or taking drinking whatever. Uh, like I'm not skin and bones. Like there's a stereotype that is associated with Gen Zs, and they don't stray away from that. Like that's the thing. Like they own it. They are embracing of that stereotype. It's not like it's not like it's just a general observation of it. No, it's just that's who the fuck they are. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's who the fuck they are, and they do not care, because that's the whole point about being a Gen Z, is that it's just that not giving a fuck, no filter, unfiltered type attitude. And people think they could just say whatever the fuck they want and get away with it, and that's where these habits come from, where that's where narcissism is also formed in some respects, where when people are not given that awareness that their actions are not always right, you know? When you lead someone on a certain way, it's like then yeah, they're gonna be more ego driven, and thus they're not gonna care too much as to what they're saying, you know. It's only when they get hurt, really get hurt, do they really understand. Um, or when someone is being directly honest with them, you know, they're not just fucking around and just, you know, making some offhand comment like, oh, you shouldn't say do that. You have to make it a point to these people that it's wrong, you know, and they shouldn't do that, you know. So, and it's like, you know, like do that with people that you respect, you know, like I've always said, like I said this to my brother the other day, like people that really respect you will call you out on your bullshit. You know, they're not like people who stay in their lane, you know, like I mean to a certain extent, yes, but it's like if you're fucking around and you're doing something really stupid, like legitimately stupid, someone should call you out for it. And that person who calls you out for that, you should honestly stick with that dude. Cuz that dude's probably going to be honest with you, more direct. Um and I think that that's where I find that's what why I value my close friends, because all of my closest friends have at some point called me out on something. You know, they weren't like grooming me, being saying like, oh, you're so good at it and so whatever. You know, like they're not doing that. They're always telling me like, look, you're being way too loud, or you're talking too much, or hey, I need this and you stop doing this. Like they always have put me in my place. You know, like they've never just let me do whatever the fuck, you know? Like people who have boundaries and they make you aware to those boundaries, and they, you know, like they don't just like sit by and just, you know, that like I appreciate that more than someone who's just gonna sit and just be like, you know, like just be a fucking doll or whatever like that. Like no, I don't want that. I want someone who is going to be their own person and has some level of respect, and also just flat out just having the balls to just say, dude, yeah, what are you fucking doing? You know what I mean? Like that's not right. Like, you know, let's not do that. Like that's stuff that I try to focus more on nowadays. Like I want to be aware of what I did do wrong, and I want to be, oh, you know, I don't want to be like overly sensitive, like, because that's how I used to be. I used to be very sensitive. At the same time, at some points, a jackass, you know. But I just want to be able to be awares, you know, like, you know, like, and also like just some of the shit, like I said, just some of the shit that people say nowadays. Like, there's no room to be saying all the slurs, all the bad racist shit. It's like there's no room for that at all. And I honestly am like disappointed by the fact that that's like accepted. That's just fine. We're allowed to say that apparently now. And people will say no, no, you shouldn't, but it's like they'll say it in their groups. Like, you know, I've heard of this before. It's like, well, as long as certain people don't hear it, then it's fine. It's like, uh again, like just whatever makes you happy, you know. It's like that's not really an excuse, you know. Um, but sure, okay. So, um, like just practice being just a good person. Like try practicing like good character, you know. Like don't do something that is just outright stupid, you know. Have some like what nobody wants to be rational. Nobody wants to use critical thinking. Nobody wants to just really examine themselves. They just want to do shit, and it's like that's not a good healthy thing to do, you know. And that's why most of these people that you meet are pretty much one and the same, honestly. especially with the Gen Zs. I'm sorry. It's like I have seen that same type of person every time. Like I've seen it. The PJs, the fucking skin and bones, the fucking like just the overall look, the overall mentality too. Talking slurs, talking this and that, and talking as if they're from the streets. It's like you're from a suburban like area. Like, why are you talking like that? There's no reason. Like, come on. Like it's like, you know, like you're just being a poser. Like that's all you're fucking doing is just being a poser. So like, and take it from someone who was a poser throughout high school. I was being a fucking poser for years. I was like dressing up and shit and doing all types of shenanigans because I wanted attention. I wanted people to see me. I wanted to be validated just like you. But like eventually you just got to grow out of that shit and you just got to learn that you're your own fucking character and you're your own person and you got to work on it, dude. Like because eventually I told my bro, eventually that shit's going to fade. You're going to get old enough and people are going to start acting like adults and rational people. And if you're still the same asshole that you were in high school, it might have been acceptable then, but with maturity comes some changes. And if you ain't changing, no one's gonna be around you. Um, so that's just the honest truth of it. It hurts, but it's like it, it's just how it is. You know. Now just to be clear, my brother's fine. He's fine. He's a teenager. Let's just put it that way. Um, but like um, it's like I'm so like disenchanted, just so like it's just so like funny to me like when I see it so often with people. So many times have I seen people like trying to justify it, and it's like just fucking own it. Just say you fucked up. You can't just say you fucked up. You got to find some way to make it seem okay, or the general way. I love when someone makes a general statement like, don't we all make comments like that? Don't we all do things like that? Like I love that one. That one's also funny. It's like, oh, okay, like just throw yourself at the mercy. It's like, no, that's not gonna work either. It's like you need to own it. Like, you know, yeah. And this is how I was in high school, guys. Like, I mean, yeah, I was a walking hypocrite. Like I said exactly what I'm saying now. Like I said in high school. The difference being is that I was a huge fucking hypocrite back then. I'd say all these things, but I was doing that fucking shit at the same time. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've reined myself in a hell of a lot more since then. And like, thank God I have not developed that mentality that my generation has. It's like I think by generation, yes, I am Gen Z, but like fuck me if I am like anywhere close to that personality type. Like no, absolutely not. I fall more in the vein of like millennial probably. I've said it for years that I feel like I was like born in the wrong time. And that sounds really depressing, I know, but like I say that in like a humorous way where it's like I honestly feel like I was meant to be born in like the 80s, just because like the people that I usually talk to and I usually seem mentally in the same space with is usually people in like the 30s or 40s, like when I talk to someone my age, I just feel older, like I don't feel like I'm on their level. I feel like I'm older, not saying I feel superior, I just feel older, you know like it's just like it's weird, you know um well, not weird, it's just blatant. It's just that we both have different personalities, you know but but that being said, again, not everyone who isn't Gen Z falls in that vein, you know, and there are people out there who are smart and, you know, who understand right from wrong and actually look at themselves, you know, they're not fool themselves. They actually look at themselves and try to improve. Um, but there's a ton of people also who are just so full of shit and just say stupid things just to get a reaction, and they're just desperate for attention, and they're gonna get the worst kind of attention from it. And I would say that I'm a little sympathetic, but I really am not. I really like if you're gonna end up in a shitty situation or end up in a position that still doesn't make you happy, it's like, yeah, because you ran your fucking mouth and here you are with a bunch of shitheads, you know? It's like, you know, if you're gonna act like a shithead, you're gonna have friends that are shitheads, you know? So don't be surprised where if you end up with people like that, you know, and you still are not happy, you know? So um ultimately that's your fault. It is. It's your fault. It's no one else's fault but yours. And you need to learn to own that shit. And you need to learn to acknowledge that shit. And then you need to learn how to deal with it, how to improve. Something that a lot of people don't want to do. But hey, it's your life, so I mean, you do what you want. If you want to do that sort of thing, do you? If you don't want to do that, then do you? You know, that's just kind of what I say nowadays to, you know, that sort of thing. It's like, hey, just, you know, that's if you want to do that, that's your game, that's your business. You know, just as long as you're not hurting anybody, if you're not hurting yourself, do you? You know, so but yeah, I feel like a lot of people nowadays, especially in my generation, they're just like full of shit. So but yeah, so just wanted to get that off my chest. I was just thinking about that like yesterday and just today. It's like man, so many people around my age and people like coming up from that, you know, like people like close to my brother's age, like they're just so full of themselves, you know? And they're fucking posers. Like I told you, like they're just wearing shit and wearing like the bling and the fucking shit. It's like you guys aren't in the fucking music industry. You guys aren't rappers, okay? Like you guys are not close to that. You guys live in a suburban like area, so you're nowhere close to that sort of thing. So it's like quit with all the bullshit. So but anyways, um but yeah, so those are my thoughts. Probably gonna get downvoted because I've when I mention Gen Zs or anything in that vein, I've noticed some people don't take kind to it. But same thing with the actor strike. People don't like when I talk about the actor strike or the writer strike. But like I said, if the facts are not present, then it's interpretive. So you know, and it is an opinion at that point. And my opinion is that a lot of people are full of shit, and they need to start looking themselves in the mirror. So yeah, so that's it for me. So you know, just wanted to kind of air out those thoughts. So yeah, so yeah, that's it, and I'll catch you guys next time. So I'm gonna go do me now. So.